in order to be able to create some sort of business aspect, in order to be able to be successful in what you do, you need to be able to offer value to people. Yo, so this is the first ever Creatre cast. We are live on YouTube. Would you look at that? Such a pleasure to be here. I see we've got someone who is waiting the stream. It was a pleasure having you here. And yeah, this is the first ever Creatre stream that we're doing now. The whole purpose of this stream is to get creators online, having conversations about their experience in the industry. A lot of us as creators have gone through a lot of challenges and have overcome a lot of challenges. And a lot of us are currently going through challenges. And that's kind of the purpose of what we're doing today. Well, that's the purpose for me. But it's not just me on the stream today. Today we've got Nat. We were going to have quite a few other members of the JD team and the Creatre team. But unfortunately, due to load shedding, a lot of people weren't able to join us today. And we're hoping that if you're out here watching this today, that you aren't being hit by the sheds and that maybe you have some sort of access to power, because this whole ESCOM situation is not optimal for productivity. But here we are. We're not going to let the load shedding get us down. We're not going to let the rain get us down. We're out here doing our thing and making it happen. So it is my pleasure to welcome Nat. Boo, 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 boo. Welcome, Nat.
How's it going?
How are you doing today?
Chill, can't complain. How are you?
I'm all good on my side. So yeah, we're going to start off with Nat and I. We've also got Sherwin on the way, but he's been having some difficulties connecting. So please bear with us. This is our first time doing this live stream, so we're going to iron out all these kinks as we go along. But for today, we have a topic at hand, and the topic is the purpose of this stream. Because we've been having a lot of meetings as a JD team. We spend a lot of our time planning and finding ways to be able to connect creators with business. And that's what we do through the Creatre platform. And we really came to the conclusion that we need to be having conversations as creatives. We need to be able to discuss the challenges that we're facing and also give a platform for other creators to come and join and share their experiences and also plug what they're doing. So that's what the purpose of the stream is for me. And I mentioned a little bit of that earlier. But in our meeting last week, we were trying to decide what is the topic for today going to be. And the conclusion that we came to was that we need to decide what this means for us. What is this platform for us? So us as the team, we took some time to just brainstorm and think about certain things. And yeah, so I don't know, Nat, like, did you manage to come to some sort of idea of what you envision us using this stream for?
So, I actually, when I thought about this, I kind of took it back to one of the conversations we had in a meeting of ours. And I feel like the purpose of this stream for us is to create a community. I know that it maybe sounds like a bit boring, but I feel like part of being a creative is building a community, because we don't work alone on things. There's not one creative person that's like, okay, I'm doing this all by myself. We all need help. We all need input. We all need valuable education. And I feel like that's what this stream is for me. It's giving my input, giving my knowledge in certain aspects as well, and being able to take that from other creatives as well.
Dope. So like, we know each other. And we've been working with each other for a few weeks now. We've worked on previous things in the past. I mean, I remember going back to like shooting certain events, and you were there also shooting at the events. And I think that was like, you mentioned community now, and that's like something that's a huge important part of that, right? And I don't think we would have known each other if we weren't in the creative space. And I think we've both we were both on that set. So the way Nat and I met was we were shooting. I wasn't actually shooting. I was more functioning in an influencer capacity. I was working with a luxury magazine called Luxuria, and they sent us on a whole bunch of different luxury experiences. And the one experience that they sent us on was the launch of a restaurant. And Nat was out there capturing some behind the scenes and capturing the event. And that's how we met. And since then, we've both like gone on our own journeys, right? And a lot of the people that are a part of the Creatre platform and that follow me online, and also follow the JD Creations journey, they'll know like the kind of stuff that we do with in terms of digital marketing, photography, videography, website design, all that kind of stuff. We basically function in the creative space and give brands digital voices. That's what we do. And Nat came on board to help us with some of the client work that we're doing and also help grow this creative community. So Nat, pleasure having you a part of that. But I think it's super important because like a lot of the people are exposed to the JD Creations journey, but they're not really exposed to the Visuals by Nat journey, you know? So I don't know if you want to give us like a bit of a breakdown in terms of like your journey, where you're at now, and maybe how it started, you know, like where did it start? How did you get to where you are? You know, tell us like, who is Nat?
Okay, well, I've had lots of time to think about this, so that's pretty cool. I feel like it's a good question for this like period of my life right now. So I remember like the first time I picked up a camera to do work was a couple of years ago. I was still in high school and I did visual arts, and I was like, I'm gonna try do photography for my final project. I didn't end up doing that as my final project, but that's when I actually like first, you know, started out with like the whole, you know, photography type of thing. And as it went along, like as time went on, I started thinking like, you know, I could actually make this a business. It's like actually something that I could do, and it's creative and it's like visual, which is something that I absolutely love. So I eventually just got into it, working, doing event photography. And then when I graduated varsity, I studied cinematography in varsity. I kind of knew that like cinematography wasn't necessarily my most favorite thing. I had fun, it was cool, but I think that I enjoyed the visual aspect of it, but not the videography aspect of it. So
Okay.
I decided to start my own, I started my own business last year, and I started with like, again, I started all over again with events. It's not necessarily like my favorite, but it is, again, one of those things where you get to meet so many different kinds of people. Like I wouldn't have met you if I didn't do event photography.
Yeah.
So everything happens for a reason. And then I decided to go into portraits and lifestyle photography, which is my absolute favorite. I love being able to work with different kinds of clients, different walks of life, whether it be families or even a matric dance shoots. I absolutely love it. It's so fun. So I think Visuals by Natalie, and I actually posted about this yesterday, but I always say that I don't feel like I'm just a photographer. I feel like I'm a digital creator. So it's not only about photography for me. It's about the grander scheme of it. It's about the color grading, the editing, the content creation for Instagram, all of that stuff. So that's why I decided to call my business Visuals by Natalie and not just like Photography by Natalie.
Right. So that word visuals is something that like means something different to you, right? It's not just about photography, it's about visuals. And I think visuals are super important because like I think one thing that is something that I find myself talking a lot about throughout this whole creator journey is about value, right? And a lot of what we do and what we create, the reason why we do it is because it offers value, right? And I know a lot of us creators, we find our own personal value out of the work that we do, right? And that's why, like, you can look at this career, and traditionally speaking, like, I don't know if you had the same like struggle with your parents, but my parents, like, when they found out that I wanted to go into the space, they were kind of like, are you sure you want to do that? You know, like, you have so much potential. Like, why don't you go and like become an accountant or or something like that? I think for me, it was more like, it wasn't more becoming like an accountant, it was more becoming a coder or going into the tech space, or developer rather. And that's actually what I studied. I studied BCom, information systems and economics. So the reason why I studied that was kind of to like make sure that my parents are happy. Like, I've got a safety net, you know, because like this path is not the traditional path. But I think what we're really lucky to experience growing up and just being on this journey in the time that we're in 2022 is that I think a lot of people are finding careers in the creative space. And I think it's largely due to the whole migration from functioning in the traditional world and transitioning into the digital space. And there's a lot of like businesses that need to go through that sort of process, you know, and the way that that's facilitated is through the technology that's available to us, you know. We are able to record stuff on our phones that was not being like, if you wanted to record the type of quality that we record now on our phones on a daily basis, that we just post on like stories, for example, you would have had to invest in like a proper like film camera, like you would have to invest in proper lighting, all of that kind of stuff. But because technology is available to us, the barrier to entry is so much lower, you know? So it's provided a lot of opportunity for us. And I think the kind of discussion point that I wanted us to like direct us down was sort of that experience of like the pressures to follow the traditional route, you know. Like I mentioned earlier, my parents wanted me to go into like more of a corporate job. And when I told them, no, I want to start my own business, they were kind of like, eek, I don't know if that's the right path, or you should like blah, blah, blah. And then you fast forward 3 years later doing this business for so long. I mean, 3 years, not that long in the greater scheme of things. But I mean, if you look at entrepreneurship, 3 years is quite a while. And if I look at where I was when I started compared to where I am now, it's like a big gap between those two things. So I think it takes a lot of courage as us creators to be able to take that leap. And I would like to bring it back to the whole concept of value. But before I do that, I wanted to like check with you. Like, did you also have a similar experience with your parents, or how's your experience been like going down this career path?
So I've actually been quite like lucky because my parents have allowed me to explore like the more artistic scope than just being like, you know, you need to do well at math and business and that type of thing. I think it really had to do with the fact that I wasn't good at like math. I wasn't good at business. Like, that was not my forte. And my parents recognized that at a very young age. So they were like, yeah, okay, you know, it's fine. Like, you know, let her do her thing, because I was always very invested in the arts. So I did like a lot of drama as well, because like I absolutely loved it. So I kind of had the same experience. I feel like I still have it now because like my dad is an entrepreneur. So he was an optometrist. He's a qualified optometrist, and he studied in Germany, and he came to South Africa, where he couldn't really practice it because like the laws in terms of that stuff is a bit iffy, but he couldn't practice it. So now he's a sales director for eyewear. So he works with Nike currently. He's worked with Ray-Ban, and he was a sales rep, you know. So that was also something very different from the normal, you know, just being an optometrist or being a doctor, that type of thing. And my mom did marketing. So it was still creative, if that makes sense. So I don't think I was as pressured to, you know, go into that route of traditionalism. So I was lucky.
You're very lucky, hey? Because, yeah, for me, I think our parents, they want the best for us, you know? They really do want the best for us. And traditionally, when they grew up, if you went and you studied the degree, you followed that traditional route, the chances of your success was like really high. You know, you're guaranteed to find a good job, and there was security in that job. But I think with our generation, it's a little bit different. a lot of people, and especially in South Africa, a lot of people go and study degrees and they find themselves looking for jobs after they've graduated and they can't find them. So I think like the whole landscape of things is a bit different for us. And I think it actually kind of demands a portion of us young people to kind of take that leap, you know? And I see Sherwin has joined. Welcome, Sherweezy.
It's Sherwin.
So yeah, no, like Sherwin, just to update you, Nat and I are just talking about the experience of going this like creative route and not going the traditional route, you know, and the challenges that come along with that. Nat was just saying that her parents been very supportive of her journey. I was saying my parents, they kind of needed to see that it works first before they fully understood it. I think they just didn't understand what was going on really. But yeah, we are just saying that like there's so many opportunities in the digital space that have opened up now. So yeah, like just touching on what you're saying, like Nat, you really are blessed to have parents that have supported that journey, because there's a lot of people that haven't. And I think what's happening now in terms of the creative space, you see a lot of people that don't have jobs, that can't find work, and they're kind of having to get creative in the way that they think about things. And a lot of people are actually going into like web development, video production, that kind of stuff. And like we mentioned it earlier, the barrier to entry is much lower in that space. So it makes sense that people do turn to these different means to make a living. And that's kind of like why we also started this journey, is because a lot of people and a lot of creatives, we are talking about value, right? And a lot of creatives find value in creating their work. So Nat, you also mentioned that earlier when you were saying that with the type of shoots that you enjoy doing, whether it be like a matric dance or portrait, like it sounded to me like a lot of the value that you get out of doing the work that you do comes from the interaction that you have with people and the experience and the relationships that you build through the process of capturing who they are, you know? And that's beautiful. Like that's beautiful. And I've also experienced a level of that, because the way I got into content creation is, I always say it started with the shooting. And then people, normally when I say that, a lot of the time people think, oh crap, like a shooting? Like when you look at the country that we live in, the climate that we stay in, like, and the the crime rate that we have, they immediately think the worst, you know? But for me, when I say shooting, like it started with the shooting. My friend and I, we used to shoot. So like him and I were best friends. And the one year he got for Christmas, he got a camera, Canon, 1200D or something like that. Beautiful. Like low spec Canon DSLR. And this was like the coolest thing to us. Like I would always go to his house, and he used to have these air rifles. And what we ended up doing is we would take the air rifle and shoot eggs with the pellets. And then what we'd do is we would like take photos whenever we would shoot the egg. So one person would be shooting the egg, the other person would be taking photos. And as soon as the egg exploded, we wanted to like capture that like explosion. In that moment in time. And that's how like my journey started, is we were so obsessed with like capturing that like egg explosion. So whenever people ask like, how did you get into this? I'm like, nah, it started with a shooting. And then I'll tell them the story. Explosion. It was an explosion. Let's go. Yo guys, is this the purpose of this podcast, to drop some dad jokes? Right, we found reason for why we're here. But yeah, like, so that experience of like trying to capture that moment of time is something that really like I became obsessed with. Is that like that thing of, or that process of capturing a moment, like that egg exploding is a split second, but as soon as you take a picture of it, it changes from like existing within that split second to lasting forever. I mean, if you're going to upload it into the cloud, that stuff's essentially going to be there forever. So that's kind of like where I got started with this whole journey, and it like progressed throughout school. Like I keep mentioning this word value, right? And throughout school, we used to, what I learned a lot from my experience of creating during school was like, we used to create videos for this thing that we had in school called the Mud Fight. And essentially what the mud fight was is that we would have the matrics and the grade 11s. And at the end of the year, when the matrics were leaving, our school would like host this mud fight on the top field where we would just get like a whole bunch of mud put on the top field. And then the matrics and the grade 11s would like basically try and get these like eggs or yoga balls onto the other side of the field, and it would just be like absolute mayhem. Like people would be bleeding, like people would get mud in their eyes, people just like looked like the Thing from Fantastic Four. Like it was just utter madness. And what our grade did differently is, because we were so obsessed with creating content, we would like start creating these videos that would kind of like taunt in grade 11, we created a video that kind of like made fun of the matrix, and then we played it in the assembly before the mud fight, and everyone was like gassed about it. They were like, oh no, the grade 11s are going to win this mud fight. It's going to be lit. Matrix ain't got nothing on them. And through that experience, it kind of taught me about the value of content, you know, like that video that we made completely shifted people's minds in terms of like what they thought about our grade, and basically shaped our brand or our like identity in the minds of the people that watched it. And that's like the next step in the journey that I experienced, you know? So I just want to find out from you guys, like in terms of value, like what kind of, like obviously as creators, we get the value that you mentioned in terms of the experience of shooting, getting to know the people that you're working with, building those relationships. But what kind of like value do you guys see yourselves like getting out of content or offering through your content? Like, do you guys see yourself, because there's a reason why people pay you to do what you do, and it's because you offer some sort of value for them. So like I wanted to check with you guys, what kind of value do you see yourselves offering the people that you work with through your content?
So I think the times that I don't know how to answer this question, so I'm going to like start off with it like this, and then maybe I'll find like a specific answer to it. But what I've realized, and this is like specifically this year, which is like my second year of business, like last year, my rates were a lot lower. So I think like anyone and everyone could hire me, and that was like the purpose of my rates being low as like a beginner in like my business and all of these things. There was so much that I still needed to learn. So I think what I noticed this year is that almost every shoot that I've done, even if it's like an event, having a client come back to me and like express their gratitude of how good I made them feel, like whether it be an event shoot of like a baby shower for a mom, you know, like there's just, I just don't think that there's any more like gratification that I could get from someone than them being, you know, thankful and grateful for what I've done for them and making them feel good. I think as a creative and as a photographer, that's what my job is. It's like I'm there to like make people feel good about themselves. I'm there to make people confident about themselves, because what I found is that people don't really like see themselves in the light of everyone else, and that gives them the chance to reflect on who they are and their lives and their experiences, and they can be like, oh, you know what, like I'm actually like pretty cute, and I'm just like, yes you are. Or like, you know, like they'll realize what you say, the value of their life, which is very rewarding for me, and that's what I find value in my work.
Yo, so that's actually something that is so dope to hear. And that's also, it's so beautiful. Like I mentioned earlier, it's so beautiful, the fact that you have some sort of skill that enables you to be able to change people's perceptions of themselves, right? And I think that's kind of the value that you offer through what you do, is by, like, you might view yourself as someone who has a funny nose, or maybe looks a bit uncomfortable or doesn't feel comfortable in their skin. But through the experience of working with Nat, once you come out of that session, you're going to view yourself in a completely different light to what you did before. And I think it's super important for us to have this discussion, because what's happening here is amazing, because we're talking about this and I'm asking you these questions that they're making you think about like the value that you offer through your work. And I don't know if you've ever thought about it in that way, but in order to be able to create some sort of business aspect, in order to be able to be successful in what you do, you need to be able to offer value to people. And I think that's where a lot of creatives, where they don't have a full understanding of that concept, because a lot of creatives, they create because of how it makes them feel. Right? Like, I put in this work and I put in this time, and look at the final product, and it makes you feel fulfilled. And there's that whole process that you go through and makes you feel so fulfilled. And that's amazing. Like, that's the first step towards like anything, any sort of passion, is like how it makes you feel and what you get out of it. But if you want to take it to the next step, if you want to take it to the point where you're able to monetize it, where you're able to create a business, you need to take your mindset not just from the value that it offers yourself, but also start shifting it towards the value that you offer others. And when you start focusing on that, right, that's when you start getting your marketing. That's when you start getting return clients. That's when you start getting people that are referring you to other people, because people come into your space, they come into working with you, they gain that experience, and they take that with them once they've left, right? And it's important to discuss this concept of value, because everything that you mentioned now, put that into a poster, put that into a video, put that into some sort of content that you can put out there. That must become your message, your brand. Yeah. Your brand is how you leave after you've shot with Nat. If you can focus on that, if you can communicate that, and then you actually get people convinced to try it out, and then you take their stories and you broadcast that to the world, share their experiences which back up what you're saying, you've got yourself a full-blown marketing campaign that's going to bring you more work and make your business more sustainable. Why? Because you're focusing on the value that you offer others. And I know that's like me being someone who's a creative, that's a hard lesson that I had to learn, right? When we were working a year ago, 2 years ago, during COVID, we had a client that was paying us really well. Like, we were doing quite a lot of work. We were still early in our business. It was like the first year of our business that we had like managed to land this big client. And we hadn't learned that lesson of the value that we're offering them. For us, it was we were doing that work because of the value it offered us. Number one, we were getting paid well. We were doing it for money. And number two, we were focused on what we were getting out of it, right? And what we learned very quickly through that experience is that no matter how much you're being paid, the money isn't going to be the solution to your problems. Like, the money isn't what's going to motivate you to perform well. The money isn't what's going to put you in a space where you're able to provide the best quality work that you want to provide, you know? That's what we wanted to do. We wanted to provide the best quality work that we could provide, but it came from like a very selfish place. It was because we wanted to do it. It was for us. And the lesson that we learned from that is throughout the course of, I think we worked with them for about 6 or 7 months. We made a lot of money. We did not invest in the right ways. We left the whole situation with nothing, and we landed up losing the clients. And when I look back on that experience, the reason why we had lost the clients is because we stopped delivering good quality work. We stopped having a good time while we were working. The environment became negative, became toxic. Mm-hmm. And the reason why it did is because it was hinged off of these selfish expectations, and also it was hinged on the fact that we were getting paid and hinged on money. And that wasn't enough to motivate us to do well in what we were doing. So what landed up happening is we actually landed up losing the clients at the end of the day. And that was a tough experience to go through. And we spoke about these tough experiences in the creator consciousness stream that we did last week, about the topic of happiness versus sadness. And I was saying, like, my mantra is that when you view happiness, when you view sadness, you need to view it from the perspective of sadness is necessary. Going through tough times is necessary, because going through those tough times, when you come through on the other side and you look back, there's so much value and gold in that experience. And that's why I wanted to talk about value, because what we didn't understand back then was this whole concept of being able to provide value. And that's why we lost the clients in hindsight. So yeah, that's kind of like my experience in terms of value. So Sherwin, we were busy having conversation about value. Yes, obviously you weren't here to hear a lot of that, but I think what's super important is just chatting to you, because like Nat and I, we had the opportunity earlier on to just kind of share with people where we're at, like how we are a part of this community, the stuff that we've been working on, and how our journey started. But we didn't really get an opportunity to hear from you, like where your journey started, where you're at, who is Sherwin, what does Sherwin do? And I think today's episode is very like important to be able to let people know who exactly they're listening to. So I wanted to hear from you, like, where did you start? How did your content journey start?
Oh, it's actually almost quite similar to yours. Online. So back in high school, I think like grade 10 or grade 11 or grade 9. I'm not sure. I don't remember which grade exactly. But my mom had the small camera, you know, those cameras with the AA batteries, those home cameras. So during the December holidays, we took one. I took it, and then I'll just go around with my friends. We go to the park and we like take pictures. You know, it's just like playing around in the park, playing soccer, walking around the neighborhood. And then we started shooting the pictures. Actually came out really nice. And we were like, actually, you know, maybe there's something here. And then we went to a party. What was it called? Called Onyx.
Oh my gosh.
You know, where you had to wear like,
Onyx.
Yeah.
Can we just take a moment to shout out Onyx?
Yeah. So
was this the one in Brum?
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. Onyx, yeah. So this was like the first one. The first one at Constitutional Hill.
Oh my gosh, connection.
So we went there, and I decided to take my camera with. Well, my mom's camera. So I took the camera with, and yeah, I was shooting there, and then I don't know, I was just shooting for the fun of it, just with friends, you know, just for memory's sake. And then I remember someone approached me at some point and was like, "Yo, you're a photographer," and I was just like, "Yeah, sure, let's go with that. Let's go with that." Yeah. And then someone took a look at that person took a look at the camera. And was like, "You're not a real photographer. Photographers don't have these type of cameras." And I was just like, "Okay." And then, but the pictures from that day, right? They were really fire. They were actually, I should find them. I'll share them next time.
Can I just
they're really fire. So
Sure, bro. Please find those pictures and post it in the Discord.
Yeah.
Like, post it in the Discord so we can all check them out. And if you're watching this, like, go join. Like, take some time to just go join the Discord, because this is where it's like it provides a platform for us to be able to like get to know one another, but it also provides opportunities for us to like work together and plan different projects you want to work on, find different job opportunities. So I just needed to plug the Discord quickly, because that's super important that everyone is watching. Like, join the Discord.
Yes, sure.
Carry on, tell us.
Yes. So, so the pictures were fire, right? And then part of me, originally I wanted to be a marketing director, right? But then when I started shooting, I was like, "Hey man, maybe there's something in this, you know." But then also, fortunately for me, my uncle was in the industry, in the space, because he was an actor, and then now he's just more of a script writer. So he had knowledge about the industry. So I'd go to him and like talk to him a couple of times, like, "Yo, I want to be in the space," so and so forth. And then at the time, him and my aunt, his current partner, they had a camera at the house, a Canon, that they weren't using. So I'd come around at times and like just borrow it, and I'd go out shooting with it. And then and then my friends actually used to go around and get gigs for me. Funny enough, they'd get gigs for me. Like, this was the time also when a lot of people had like brands, like t-shirt brands, like Brum Days. So we'd do that. Like on weekends, I'd go to my uncle's place, and then I'd borrow the camera and then go straight to Brum. We'd do like a lot, shoot what we can. It's just like, you know, those Brum poses, just everyone there dripped up, whatever. Exactly, you know, those ones, yeah. So we do that, and then I took pictures, and then I like try to like edit them. I used to use some I don't know what software it was, but it was like free software, so I used to edit on that, and then they were pretty nice at the time. You know, now we bust out.
IG filter, throw that thing on, looks grand.
Yeah. Yeah, right there. So yeah, and then we started doing that, and like I said, my friends got me gigs as well. Actually, what's fun is most of the times I also couldn't like make it to the gigs because I didn't have as much money to move around. And then what my friends would also do, which was really cool of them, they would also like share me cash to be like, "Yo, dude, here's some cash. Go to the gig. Go dollar."
That's so dope.
Do. Or sometimes they'll even share me cash, and they're like, "Yeah, they'll share me cash," and then they would vibe with me, and they'll just be there behind the scenes and having the time of their lives, and I'm out there like thugging it out, you know, figuring out how to shoot. And I used to like shoot strictly on automatic, everything. Like everything. I didn't even bother like changing settings or anything at all. Yeah, I started shooting and I'll just shoot like that. And then eventually, I don't know, at some points it flipped. Oh, there was this one brand. What's it called? New Levels, New Devils, something like that.
I remember that, dude. I think that's where I met you, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I swear that's where I met you, dude.
So like yeah, so I followed the brand owner, and she posted something. She's like, "Yo, they're having a shoot. If you're a photographer or videographer and you want to pull up or model, just pull up and we'll shoot, have some fun, you know, create some content." And I was like, "Okay, cool, bet." And I hit her up, and then she's like, "Okay, cool." She gave me the address, and I got there, and then there were like people I didn't know anyone there like at all, and these are like what were and still are actually people who are like influencers on Instagram also. So I was just like,
bro,
shit, that's most of these people I've been meaning to shoot.
Was that the one that was at a villa?
So
with the pool?
Yeah, in
that was the one. That's where we met, dude.
Yes, that's yeah, that's true. That is so true, actually.
Yeah,
that is so true. Yeah, so that's the one there. So I was quiet. I didn't know anyone, but like, and I was even like really shy to ask people like, "Yo, can I shoot you? Can we go shoot over there? Whatever." Because the brand owner was just like, "Yo, dude, just go there, do your thing, shoot who you want to shoot where you want to shoot, do your thing, just have fun." I was like, "Okay, cool, babe." But I was really shy. I think I only picked up momentum for myself like probably the last few hours, and I started really shooting. And then I went back home, and I edited those pictures, and they came out really fire. I think I really liked also I shot someone's April Donnelly. She runs
shout out to April, right? Also shout out to Hades for organizing this shoot. Like Hades really pulled through by organizing this thing. Yeah,
she really did. So, and then when I sent back those pictures, they really liked them. And then I was like, okay, bet. And then I posted them, and they like kind of like blew up. And then the next thing I know, and then because I posted them like towards the end of the year, so like December, and then into January, the new year, I was like getting a little bit more followers and a little bit more requests and inquiries, like, "Yo, trying to shoot, trying to work." And I was like, "Hey man," bet. And then also, I also have to thank Sihle. I forgot to say it.
Oh, snap.
But like, I remember shooting with her like a couple of times. Yeah. I used to work with her, like we'd shoot her, like used to hit her up, and she was always keen to work. And then cool, and we'd shoot. And then one day she asked me like, "Yo, what software do you use to edit?" And I told her the software. I legit don't remember the name. And then she was like, "Yo, use a software called Adobe Lightroom." She's like, "Yo, it'll change your life. Just it'll improve the pictures." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And then I tried to find it. I found it, and then it was a subscription thing. And I was like, "Hey, I don't know about that." So I found like a crack, at the time, and I started using that. And then that really improved the pictures. And then from there, I started really shooting on my own. I started hitting up people almost every day or every chance I got, because I still had school as well. So every chance I got, like on weekends, I'd go shoot wherever it was. I'd try to make moves and go shoot there. And then also another turning point was when I think in 2018, I moved from Melville to Observatory, and that's where I linked up with a guy called Sean, or Unnecessary Sean, and then Not Benjamin, the producer. And they had a they were creating a show called 720 where they do podcasts, also like interview podcast type of thing. And yeah, and from there, bro, like I learned a lot from people because I didn't go to school for any of my production work, like photography, videography, editing, any of that. I just learned off the University
Dude.
of YouTube. Yeah. So
Yo,
yeah.
just like,
And then, but when I went there, I met.
sorry, continue. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I went there, I started working with them. They were like, "Yo, we've seen your work. Are you trying to be a part of this thing that we were trying to build?" And they like laid it down for me, and I was like, "Yeah, dog, I don't mind," because I wasn't really doing anything much at the time. So apart from my own shoots, and then I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not? I don't mind the experience." And then that's when I got there. I met people who were like going to school for it. Like Sims, the director. I met like a lot of like PJ. I met Maui. I met a lot of other people, a lot of artists as well. So it was very
That's
interesting.
dope, bro.
And then from them, I also learned I learned lighting. I learned sound. I learned production, pre-production, setups, all of that. So, and then from there, it was just like a trip for real. And then I started working with Sims a lot, also on the side for our own stuff. And yeah, and then here we are today. Yes. Also, we also worked on with you, Josh. Was it
Yeah.
the XV, right? At Fashion
Yeah.
House. Yeah,
I
actually,
go
we have to
back, my
That's
G.
crazy.
Yeah, dude.
That's actually
But
wild.
I think, nah,
That's
it's
actually
crazy,
wild.
dude. Like all of these experiences, because I was sharing earlier, like my journey, and my journey was hectic. Like it was really, like I was saying earlier, I studied BCom information systems and economics, and it's just like, bruh, like what does that have to do with what you're doing today? And it's just like hearing from both your stories, so much of the experience that you gain in this industry is just from going out and like actually just working on things, You meet people, you gain experience, you learn things from others. You go onto YouTube, bro. I was actually in an Uber the other day and I was just chatting to the guy and he was telling me he like how he got retrenched during COVID. And he was like struggling to find a job, And I was like telling him like, bro, he was saying like, no, like I'm not educated, so it's difficult for me to find jobs and all that. And I asked him like, do you have access to the internet at home? And he said, yes. I was like, bro, like there's so many things you can learn on the internet, bro, for free, and there's so many resources out there. So it's just like, when it comes to learning how to operate in this kind of space, all the resources are there. You just need to like have the courage to go out and step out your comfort zone. And as you do that, you like meet people and you connect and you start working with certain people and you learn things from them. And I think that's like what's super important about this like podcast and this platform that we're creating, is it provides like, just like how Hades like planned that entire shoot where we met each other, where we had the experience of being able to shoot with certain people in the industry, where everyone was there creating content and sharing it and shouting each other out, following each other. Creating those relationships is so important when it comes to developing your career. And that's like the networking aspect, And that's sort of like, that's what we're doing here through this, like these platforms, is being able to put the message out there. Like, number one, if you want to succeed like how Sherwin has, if you want to start your business like how Nat has, you need to be doing these things, right? And unfortunately, we didn't really have the experience of like someone teaching us that stuff. We kind of had to like experience it ourselves and learn. But the point that I'm trying to make is there's two ways of learning. The first one is doing it yourself and messing up and learning from your failures, right? And that way of learning takes time, and it's a lot more difficult, right? The second way of learning is being able to learn from the mistakes of others, right? And that's a much better way of learning, because when you learn from the mistakes of others, you're able to not have to go through those tough experiences. You're able to just hear what other people have to say and share their like lessons that they've learned through their own experiences, and you're able to take that into your own life. So that's kind of like why I feel like I'm here today, is to kind of like share all those things that I've learned from my mistakes to people that want to listen and want to like cooperate in the space. And if you're someone who does want to do that and you want to be a part of this community, if you're someone who like wants to give back from the lesson that you've learned, join our community. Click the link in bio, like click our link tree, you'll see different ways that you can participate in what we're doing. But number two, if you're someone who's like out there who really like wants to get involved in the whole creative space, you want to learn how to take photos like Sherwin, you want to learn how to do videos like Sherwin, you want to learn how to make people change the way that they like perceive themselves like Nat. Like, this is why we're doing this. This is for you. This is for you to be able to, number one, like learn from the things that we're saying, but also number two, be able to connect and like link with us, because we're all working on projects where we could use an extra set of hands. So if we can provide that opportunity to someone else, that gives them the opportunity to learn and grow and develop in their own career. And by doing that, it also makes that relationship possible. I mean, Sherwin and I, if someone came to me at that shoot that we were at, Sherwin, the New Levels, New Devils shoot, and told me that like you and Sherwin would be working together on all this client work and be making money together and like doing all the things that we're doing today, I would be like, what? Like, that would be such a like mind numbing thing to think about, because I wouldn't be able to comprehend it. But now looking forward, I'm like, I'm so glad that I went. Dude, can I just tell you a story, bro? I was on holiday with my family in Delstrom the day that that shoot happened. I drove all the way back from Delstrom to come and be at that shoot. And if I hadn't done that, we wouldn't be here today, bro. So I'm like, that's like such a full circle moment for me, dude.
Dude, it's crazy. It is crazy. Because also, like, a lot of like these shoots. Actually, now that I think about it, even the Dando one, I think it was quite random how I also ended up there, and I found you also there, and I was like, yo, I know this guy from somewhere. I know this guy. I've met him before. We've done some stuff together. So it's like, yo, it's crazy, and you meet a lot of people along the way as well. It's also really nice, like seeing a lot of people that like you started with, also like pushing their own individual things now, and the majority of them are still in the industry as well. Like, I'm talking to people like Different Perspective, Sims, Uno Gondo, Grim Films, you know Gondo, right? Yeah, all those people, bro. Yeah, so you know, like all these people, everyone is still out here and still pushing it, and like they're all like heavyweights in their respective fields now. It's just like, yo, crazy. It's like, yo, not to say it's not cutthroat though, because it can be cutthroat, like really cutthroat. But I mean, like, yo, once you find your footing and you find your people, it's like, yeah, it changes everything.
Completely changes everything, bro.
It is nice, actually.
And like all those experiences, they all add up, you know? They all add up. So, like, Nat, do you, like, even like when we did that shoot, like way back when, like just the fact that we were able to connect with each other, that's why I reached out to you. It was because like I remembered that time when we had met each other. And I'm heavily like, I don't know if you guys are the same, but I'm heavily like focused on like auras and like energy. And when you meet certain people, you get like a certain energy, certain aura of who they are. So that like aspect of meeting and getting to know people is super important when it comes to like your career, because those people that you make connections with are people that you can like take forward with, you know. Sorry, Soren, I'm just gonna mute you like in between, because we can still pick up some of the sounds. That's why I keep muting it. That's the only reason. But yeah, like I was saying, Nat, that was the reason why I reached out to you, was because I had met you in person, because we had some sort of connection. There were many people out there that I could have approached, but I never had the opportunity of actually like making connections with those people. Yeah. And for us, that was just like, for all of us sitting here, these things were just kind of like luck of the draw. They weren't really planned or anything like that. But I think if we were intentionally going out, so if we had like a place where we were able to like make those connections, I feel like we would have been able to meet so many more other people, and those people would all be a part of the journey now. And that's something that's super dope. I think we should actually start thinking about creating like what we used to do back in the day. Like Sherwin mentioned a lot about like the Brahm shoots, and like going to Brahm when you're steez and just like hitting up all the poses and all that, you know. And getting comfortable in front of the camera. But when I look back at that, like, number one, that experience was so good because it really taught us the skills that we use today, like in terms of lighting, in terms of angles, in terms of directing people how to pose, that kind of stuff. We all learned that while we were having fun, you know, while we were just enjoying ourselves. So that was a really cool experience to have, you know. So I think we should start thinking about like ways that we can provide those experiences for others, you know. And we used to call them photo missions. We used to like call each other up and be like, yo, what you doing this Saturday afternoon? Let's go to Brahm, let's take some photos. And we used to just like go there and then just like create content. We never had a plan. We never had any idea of what we were going to do, who was going to be there, but we just went. And through that, we created dope content, which grew our followings, but we also like learned a lot and we networked with each other. And what's super cool as well is we can also do that online. Right. And that's like why we're doing these streams, is to be able to allow that platform. Maybe if someone's staying in like Pretoria or in Cape Town or freaking like Ekasi, wherever, like you can, because we have the power of the internet, we're able to connect and communicate with each other. And this is like the first step to doing that, which is super dope. So guys, like, thank you for coming along and being a part of this. I'm actually having such a good time, like reminiscing on all these like things that we've learned and all the places that we've been. It's such a dope thing to do every now and again, you know?
I don't know. I was like, I didn't know if you were frozen or not. So I was like, you good, homie? But yeah, like same.
We still out here.
And it's like, it's so dope to be like surrounded by creative people. I truly do believe in like everyone having like their own time and space, because like I went to NSA for grade 8 and grade 9. So like, I really wanted to be one of those people that used to hang out in Brahm, but my parents were very like overprotective. Or let me not say overprotective, let's say protective. And I feel like it's a lot more different for like females in that sense. Like me being a female, I can't go like to a random shoot and be like, hi, like what's up? Like that's hella dangerous. And I feel like last year when I started my business, I was always like, oh, but I wish I could be doing like this kind of photography, and I just want to be in like this industry. And I found myself doing different things, but it's still equally as heartwarming, and it still brings me just as much happiness, because I'm also like a really shy person. So I feel like everyone has their different like time and space to do things, and that's okay. Like I think if I had to like give any creative person advice, it would just be to like, you know, just like trust the process, trust where you're at. Like, you know, you don't have to be doing everything that everyone else is doing. Like you can do it in your own way. You can like do what you got to do as well.
Yo, I never actually thought of it from a female's perspective, because what you're saying is so true and so valid, but because it's not my experience, it's never even crossed my mind that like, yo, we were actually in like these places that were a little bit more risky if you're a female, you know? And it's kind of sad to think that like females that would want to be a part of that aren't able to commit or like join that kind of experience because of that. And it's actually, I think it's a broader problem. Like it's just a general problem that we have specifically in South Africa, even globally. But I'm pretty sure that there's ways that we can like navigate this. And I think what we should really do is we should actually do a show that's like female, like dedicated to females in the space, because I don't know if like Nat and I were working on a piece of content that we put up on the JD Creations page. Shout out to JD Creations on Instagram. Go follow it if you want to, jdcreations.co.za. But yeah, we put up a post on there, and there was this one part where it said content is king. And then I asked you, Nat, please can we like scratch the king out and put queen? And the reason why I said that was because in this space, there's so many females that have so much to bring to this industry. But right now, it's like heavily male dominated. And that's also why I think it's super important to have female voices on these platforms, you know, because this industry is like male dominated. And I think a huge portion of what's going to push the industry forward is going to be us empowering females to enter the space, to be able to have a voice, to be able to contribute to the creative process and be able to show what the ladies can do, because y'all bring a completely different aspect, a completely different style. Like y'all have your own thing that hasn't been tapped into yet, and we really need to empower people in that.
Big facts.
Big facts. So yeah, maybe we should actually do that. If there's anyone watching that's a female that would like to be a part of that chat, hit us up. Like let's involve you in the conversation, because it's a super important conversation to have. But yeah, like Guys, it's been such a pleasure like having you here. Like I think before we wrap this all up, Sherwin, like we spoke in the beginning before you had come and joined us about the purpose of this podcast, and I kind of shared my purpose. And for me, being here is kind of a matter of being able to teach people so that they don't have to make the mistakes that we've gone through, and be able to empower them to basically monetize their content and view this content creation thing as a business, because that's ultimately what's going to make your content sustainable, is if you're actually generating income and making a living from it, right? And then Nat also shared her reason for being here. And Nat, I don't know if you want to summarize your reason for being here. I feel like you'd summarize it better than I would.
So I just said that my reason for being here is creating community, and I know that's something that like we always speak about, like being part of JD Creations. But I was saying that like it's essentially a thing of, you know, we're all creatives and we can't do this alone. Like as a creative person, like you can't do what you do alone. You always need someone to help you. So I think it always comes down to community and being able to build something around that.
Yeah. So I think we'll save the best for last. And Sherwin, like, do you want to like tell us why you're here? What is the purpose of Creatre for you?
Yeah. To be honest, it's pretty much the same as you guys. I'm not gonna lie, it's not so far off. It's more in line, but for me also, it's also for myself to learn how to navigate a business, because even though I'll say I've had success with running my own business as an individual, I've also had like my own hiccups and problems along the ways. I think you've noticed also outside of the podcast, and I talk to you, I always ask you questions like, yo, how do you actually reach out to more clients? How do you do this? How do you do that? I want to do this, but I don't know how to do it. And those are things that I want to learn from other people as well, because it's not really the easiest when you do it on your own. So I want to see how everyone else does it and see, okay, how can I implement that to work for me also? So that's my reason as to why I'm here.
Yeah.
So, because that's important, because you don't really have anyone who like holds your hand and like tells you like how to do it. So it's more like, yo, you got to learn as much as you can when you can, like every opportunity, you know. I mean, sometimes it does require you to be selfish, you know, but yeah, that's just how it is. But as long as you're learning, it's fine. So I've been fortunate enough to be around like people like yourselves who are willing to like give a person advice and just tell them like, yo, if you need help with this and this and this, I'm there, just talk to me. So I really love the space that you've created and that we're all a part of. So that's my reason.
Can I just like echo what you're saying? Because you're talking about being here and like the value that it offers you, you know? And I must say, like, I've gone through a lot of these experiences and I've learned a lot of things through, like, I've been really blessed because I've had a mentor being able to guide me in the business space. He doesn't function in the creative space, but he's like got a lot of experience and knowledge in the business space when it comes to like working in high level companies at high level positions. And he's taught me a lot of the things that I share with you guys today. Shout out to Uncle Vic, founder of Value It. And what I found is that there's a lot of value in that knowledge because it's helped me look at my craft from the business sense. And there's no one out there who's kind of like teaching people that. There's a lot of tutorials online on how to edit a video or how to create a photo or how to shoot a certain angle, but there's not a lot of content out there that's teaching people how to actually build a business, how to make your content sustainable. And that's ultimately like what I'm trying to do through this platform and through the Creatre community. But we were talking about also like getting value out of it from yourself, right? And like I've made it my goal to make sure that everyone who's a part of this is able to progress what they're working on and able to take this knowledge and take it further than just the community that we're doing here, and be able to impart it on others, but also implement it in their businesses and be able to like live a certain lifestyle, be able to work on certain projects that they want to work on. And through that process of like seeing you guys and what you're doing and seeing your developments and like teaching you, it's taught me a lot as well. because there's a lot of value that you get out of teaching. And I think you guys are going to start experiencing this as well as you guys become members of this community, because there's going to be people that like look up to you guys and also want to learn, and you're going to give them value. And I can tell you now, there's going to be a lot of stuff that you guys are going to learn from that. So that's kind of like the value that I get out of it. So Sherwin, you thanked us for being here, but I have to thank you guys as well for also being here and sharing your experiences, because it's super, super valuable, not just to me, but everyone watching. So guys, I feel like this has been an amazing first session. I'm coming out of this feeling really good and feeling like we're really onto something. I hope you guys are feeling it too, because I feel like we're really onto something big. And if you're someone who's watching and wants to be a part of this journey, if you want to be a part of this community, if you've got questions, if you've got challenges that you're facing, please join our community. And I'm going to tell you now, the best way that you can join the community is to join the Discord, because in that Discord, you're going to have access to everyone who's listening here. You're going to have access to the rest of the JD Creations team, and you're going to have access to others who are in the community. And we're going to be keeping people up to date with what's going on in the Discord. So if you want to join it, if you like been listening to what we have to say and it resonates with you, you want to monetize your content, you want to grow your business, you want to be able to be working on the projects that you want to work on, please join that community. The link will be in the description. Follow our link tree. It's linktree/Creatre community. And yeah, thank you so much for coming, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure spending some time chatting to you there.
Thanks for having us.
Awesome. So I think we'll leave it on that note. This is the first episode of the Creatre Cast done and dusted. Can I get a what's up? All right, so yeah, guys, we're going to be doing these every second Wednesday, and next time we're probably going to have other people on the channel, which is going to be super dope, because there's more people to the team that weren't able to join us due to load shedding, and we're going to be able to hear their stories too. But until then, like, follow, subscribe, everything is in our link tree, and we will see you soon. Cheers.